Welcome back to another episode of the Virtuos Codef Blueprint. Behind the most immersive game worlds are more than just great ideas and beautiful assets. It is the result of a development team that refused to compromise on their creative vision. But here is the reality we face in modern game development. Game worlds are getting bigger, timelines are expanding too much, and the creative bar has never been higher. At some point in almost every ambitious project, in-house teams inevitably hit capacity or encounter expertise gaps that hiring alone can't solve quickly or sustainably enough. From individual assets and props through to modular kit building and full end-to-end level ownership, environment art is the primary mechanism through which a developer's creative vision becomes a playable world. Today, our goal is to explore how the right environment art partnership at any tier, at any stage of production, protects and amplifies the core vision. They join me today to pull back the curtain. They are experts representing Virtuos Global Studios. And before we deep dive into our today's topic, I would like to give them the floor to introduce themselves. So welcome, guys, to this episode. And I will ask actually Han to start to introduce herself.
Hello everyone. Thank you for having me on the stage today. So I heard about Classic, which is like one of the largest outsourcing studio for the games industry at that time, and now I'm here. Yeah, so proud to be on the AAA credit list. Total like 19 years with Classic so far, from like non-racing titles like Demon Souls, Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and also the racing game titles such as Forza Motorsport and also Forza Horizon franchise. Now I'm moving back to like the management position, like the environment art production manager, but I still work very closely with the producer, the tech guy, the art team to maintain the quality of every single project in the environment discipline. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you for being with us. So thanks a lot. What about you, Songlin? Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your studio?
Okay, cool. I've been here for over 15 years. The day I joined Virtuos Chengdu, I started as a prop artist. But the amazing part for me is the project always changed, leading me into new fields. I jump into the racing game and modeling hard surface as race tracks, and then jump back to the China studios for lots of ongoing ARPG game. It's a maiden trip in Virtuos, so glad to be here.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And you, Kristian, a few words about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Chris Pedlow. I've been with Virtuos like you, Hung, for 19 years. I've just passed 30 years in the industry, actually. I started out in the Virtuos Studio in Shanghai. From there, moved to Sparx in Vietnam. And I have a special sort of place in the company in that I kind of get to do a bunch of different stuff. I've worked on games, but I also work with Industrial Light and Magic, working on films. I'm lucky enough to have done a lot of Star Wars, starting with the Force Unleashed back in Shanghai. And my team is predominantly environment team, but I also do have a small character team that specifically does either digital doubles for film or occasionally if we have a specific project that does require characters to go into the environment and we want to have one team work on, like one art director oversee the whole thing, then we'll take both. So.
Okay, thanks a lot for the introduction. What about you, Javier?
Yeah, thank you, Ludovic. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is indeed Javier Alaiz, and I'm a lead environment artist here at Shamrock in Dublin, in the Greenland of Ireland. As a very quick introduction of myself, I have an academic background in psychology and interactive media that turned into games. I started in VR almost a bit more than a decade ago. And from there, I jumped to AAA, helping full dev and code development projects, some of them announced and some of them not. I consider myself a bit of a jack of all trades in game dev. I have a huge passion for games since I'm a kid. And one of my most famous and latest contributions has been helping Oblivion Remaster come to life as project environment lead.
Nice. Thanks, Javier, for the introduction. So we can crack on the big topic. Environment art means different things at different studios. When you think about what environment art actually is in the current development landscape, not just as simple background assets, but as a discipline, what does it mean to you? Songlin, do you want to start?
Yeah, I would try to avoid using backgrounds to describe environment art. I would use the word world. It's everything to to carry on the lighting, the character, the story happening. Even it's in a empty space, there are stars in the background, so you can call it as the world. And different studio has different type of game and different type of the art style, but they are creating world to carry on the games. So that's the environment art to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that technical backbone? Javier, coming from your perspective, how do you see that definition shifting?
For me, environment is not really just art or assets, but it's a fundamental part of the game development process. What we try to build is a space that sustains and complements the game experience from multiple angles, from facilitating immersion to setting the mood to guiding the action of the player, pushing the narrative, or even being the narrative itself sometimes. A well-crafted environment draws players into the game's world and make it feel believable and engaging throughout the entire game experience.
Yeah, so it's to give life. It's not only to have like a very fixed elements. It's to really like make the world living. So thanks a lot for your answer, Javier. Now, what about you, Hang? Do you want to add something on the table for this topic?
Yeah, the first thing that I want to add on to Songlin mentioning about the word. So with that word, that everything in that word doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to feel appropriate and belonging to each other. So for me, that the environment art is the combination of the technology and the fidelity, where the tech specs is the bone structure and the art is actually the skin. That's the environment art for me. It's a mixture of choice and decision.
Yeah, it sounds like something I definitely agrees with you. What about you, Kristian? What is your take on environment art?
Well, first off, I like something. I like your comeback, but we're more than just background, right? But to sort of contrast with that, good environment art is things like it's reveals, it's beautiful vistas, it's things like that. It feeds the gameplay, it's readability, it's actually what helps with the the player navigate the world and stuff like that. But there are actually times where it should disappear, right? It should be that you're not actually even noticing it because you're so immersed in the gameplay. And that's why environment art is so crucial to get it right, because if there's something wrong, if there's something that's badly made or stands out as low res or something like that, it's going to pop out and it's going to take the player out of the game and they're going to notice this problem, right? So it's really important that we get it right, but also we kind of accept the fact that we will disappear at times.
I see what you mean. And this is actually the perfect setup for how the discipline has expanded. At Virtuos, we look at managing the scale through 3 distinct tiers of engagement, let's say, which you can see right here on our framework. So let's start with what we call the foundation, tier 1, asset and prop production. Hang, on a massive project where your team is delivering photorealistic assets at a huge scale, like, for example, Forza Horizon 6 or maybe Mafia: The Old Country, what does that challenge actually look like from the inside?
Um, yeah, that's really a huge challenge and also a question that's not like lead to the right answer or the short answer that I can deliver at the same time. So firstly, I like to mention about the genre of the two titles. So the Mafia, the Old Country is the action adventure genre, while Forza Horizon 6 is the open world racing game. But there are one mutual gameplay point that in both titles that allow the players can get closer and the close-up view of many elements in the environment. And the second point of both title contain like the huge world map that divided into smaller biomes, and within each of the biomes there are like different locations with their own characteristic and also the geological features. For example, like in Forza Horizon 6, the city biomes in Japan. So its characteristic is like super busy with street network, signage, infrastructure, and many kinds of buildings with diverse style like high rise, shopfronts, malls, apartment, and also um, many type of like lighting, neon signs, while the plant biomes in Japan, like filled with crops, foliage, ponds, and also different kinds of props and buildings. Like we have residential house, we have like the huts with like thatched roof, and yeah, so we when we're dealing with those like different type of biomes with the different type of features, like we always like bear in mind and then set up the benchmark for each of the biomes, so that when we move to the mass production, everyone's gonna be on the same page on either the art style and either the requirement of each of the biomes. So we have the same thing for Mafia di Old Country. The location is in Sicily, Italy, and there are like many locations in that games. So with different gameplay as well. So some mission that happen in the main mansion, some mission happen in sulfur mine or the paleo ruins or the player home. The very bright side of those huge map that lead to the large amount of the work and large amount of the needs that the client require the outsourcer or the partner to do. So they normally reach out, and yeah, we are so proud to be their continuous partner through many years and many titles. The third point is the engine itself. So one is the Unreal Engine, but the other thing is Forza technology. So, and each one will have the own tech specs, the shaders, material system, and also the pipeline for every single purpose. The technology can help the art, can enhance the visual look of the whole game. So, in order to keep the progress run smoothly and also maintain the consistency of the quality, honestly, that's a big challenge not only for our art team but also producers, TA, and even artists or even the client side as well. Yeah, now I'd like to share partly our internal flow that we usually apply for such a large scale project. Normally, first of all, our art team and tech team must understand and be clear about the workflow that come from the client sometimes, and also the tech spec, and especially that we need to collaborate to each other and to fulfill each other's gaps. But we learned that even we don't have the answer for every question, but we always like find a way to solve every single problem. All members in the project like have the same purpose and have the same target to keep the project run successfully and complete to the end, that we always can find a way.
Okay, thanks a lot for all these insights, and it's really, really impressive. And thank you for getting into the details. So I think that we pretty much covered the very first tier about asset and prop production. Let's moving up a tier, bring us actually now to modular kit building. Well, this is probably the most misunderstood of the three buckets because people often mistake it for simple asset creation. Kristian, can you break down what it actually means to build a modular kit? Perhaps you can use a little bit of some examples from your team's work on Marvel Spider-Man 2 as an example.
Sure. So a modular kit it's something that's created to make the process of building the art easier, right? It's something to speed up production. But it's also something that aids design. If designers know what size everything is, they can actually block out a scene themselves without actually needing an art person involved. The problem we run into often is that the two don't communicate properly, the artist and the designer, right? So it's really crucial that there's this synergy between them, because if you're building a modular kit, say like a row of houses or a bunch of cover objects, doorways, stairways, places that, interiors that you need to navigate, and you're building all that with a modular kit, and the designer blocks it all out, artist comes along and says, why is this doorway square? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. How do I make a doorway square? It's not a double opening door. It's a single door that opens, but it's been made square because the design metrics required that. Sometimes it's animation, sometimes it's cameras. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we have to deal with the spaces and the sizes that we do. So I really advocate for having artists or art directors involved in the modular kit metrics as early as possible. If we can have something like that modular kit designed, worked out first, so we know what our metrics are, we know how wide a building is, we know how wide a doorway is, or gateway, or there's numerous hundreds of versions of those metrics that need to be decided. And then from that point on, it's just a case of assembling it like Lego. That's the whole point of a modular kit. It becomes Lego, right? And anybody can go in and just sort of start snapping it together. And then each one of those kit pieces is a proxy in the engine, which then gets arted up over multiple iterations, and gradually, without actually changing the layout and the space or anything about the design, the art starts to just kind of fall into place. And to me, that's why it's, so important to get that sorted out at the earliest stage possible. The more and more I do of this sort of art dev work, where it's full production, but just art, the more we're running into this issue where we need to get in front of the client much earlier than we are.
Thanks, Kristian, for your take and to bring more clarity about what is modular kit building. So, Javier, from Black Shamrock perspective, what is your take actually on modular kit building?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's true that sometimes when people think environment, think more on a isolated creation of an asset, and a modular environment is kind of like the opposite of that. Is a very interconnected part into the engine and into the game. Modular environment has been around for a while. One could argue that even the early tabletop games or even early video games were using these techniques, because it's always a balance between visuals and performance. What you're trying to do is do the most with the limitations that you have. There are many reasons why this technique can be interesting. It can provide flexibility. It can increase the scope of your game in a small budget. It can increase the speed that your team can develop levels. It can increase consistency throughout the project. So there is many reasons for it to be interesting. And when and how we can use it can vary project to project. But I would argue that having it as part of what you do is key to have a good environment strategy for your game. A good modular approach will consider, I think, at least 4 fundamental areas. And of course, this can be more. And this is not an exact science, but I think it's things that guide how you create a modular kit or a modular approach to an entire game. The first one is gameplay. Gameplay is king. So it will guide what we're creating, but also why we're creating it that way. Some examples of how gameplay can guide the production of a modular environment can be the type of enemies we're gonna fight, the encounters that we're gonna face during the game, the different layouts that the designers are trying to convey, the player camera. So if you're gonna see the game from a distance, you can get away with other things that if you're doing a third person or a first person, the size of the level. There's many of gameplay factors that are key to understand what we are trying to do. We also have the nature of the content itself. I mean, it's environment art after all. So what are we making? Is it something natural or organic that will have its own characteristics regarding how modular we can be? Modularity can sometimes be seen as a compromise on quality, but there is always a fine line in deciding when to go modular and when to be unique. And a well-balanced strategy is key to achieving not only the benchmark, but also the last of these 4 pillars that I was mentioning, which would be technical requirements. There is many concerns always in games regarding memory, regarding how to optimize our assets, including optimization techniques like instant static meshes or H slots. And all of this type of stuff will not only affect the way we build kits, but it will also, our kits, the way they are made, will help in these processes if they are set up correctly. And well, just to close it a bit, in the end, a good kit is one that supports artistic goals. It has to be controllable, accessible, flexible, and technically sound, and allow for adjustments and tweaks during production, while also helping us react when changes happen.
Yeah, thanks, Javier, for all these details. And as a takeaway, I know 2 things. The first one is to find the right balance between what you said, having something unique or something like less unique, more modular, let's say. And I will also take note that gameplay is king. Absolutely. Thanks for your answer about that, Javier. The final tier is end-to-end level art. So this is where a co-development team takes total responsibility for entire playable spaces. Kristian, when Sparx is owning a level from top to bottom on major titles, or even you, Songlin, when your team handles environment art on Call of Duty, what does true end-to-end level ownership actually require from a partner? Kristian, do you want to start?
Sure. So we've got a situation where, if we're doing end-to-end, that's a number of art disciplines within the studio, handling a portion of the game. In some cases, it's every creative discipline, every visually creative discipline, concept, environment art, character art, rigging, animation, lighting, VFX, the whole every step. Now, what happens there is that you then end up with a situation where 90% of the artists are with Virtuos, and the client sort of has, quite a small, lean team of quite high level creatives who are guiding the ship and sending us the information that we need to be able to make the game. But it's only a fraction of what we actually need. It's a style guide. It's an expectation of what the game should be like, right? And we then need to take that information and build a brief from it. So the first thing I start to do is I'll actually like stalk the client. I'll profile them. I'll figure out. I'll look at all the games they've done before. I'll look at what it is that they what it is that they find important. In calls, I'll ask questions about their lives. I won't necessarily just talk about the game. Small talk is almost strategic, right? And then from there, it's a case of downloading that information into my team. It's important that I'm able to get that profiling into the minds of each of the managers of those disciplines. So it's really important to understand the client's motivation and what it is that's driving them. I have a game that I'm working on at the moment where it's a fun, silly game, but it's actually jam-packed with symbolism. That symbolism is very difficult to get across to my creative team simply from the client's high-level art briefs. It's there, but how important it is not necessarily pushed through. It's kind of my job to then emphasize that. For me personally, it's important that I show the client that I understand them, that I get them, almost on a personal level, because they're pouring their heart into these games, right? Particularly these art directors, right? They're really passionate about it, and that they don't have to keep questioning. Do you if they see a piece of artwork come through, I don't want them to say this isn't fitting with the vision. Do you understand what I want? Right? They need to go. They get it. Maybe it's not quite right. Maybe there's this detail we can tweak here or there, but I want them to think, to feel that we understand what it is that they're trying to create.
Thanks a lot, Kristian. What I hear from you is communication, alignment. It's a lot about sharing and first understanding the client's perspective, and then share it with the team, realign, iterate, and all. So it's a very long process, but I think that it's like an old car. You need to to make it run, and then when it's running, hopefully it's running, you have like some rocks on the way. Obviously,
there will be the rocks. There's always some, and I mean, you need to reassess. Like, it'll take a little while to get it. It is, you're cranking that engine, right? And then it gets going, but you can't just leave it, right? You can't go, my job is done, team's got it. You need to keep it running smoothly. You got to keep oiling the engine. You got to keep making sure the tires are pumped up, right? Because there will be bumps along the way, and it's not just about being flexible. It's about being able to say, okay, we can take that work because we have a whole bunch of processes in place. If you don't have them in place, you really should push it back. But if you built those processes, then you should be able to say, yeah, we can fit that in. We can throw some more resources at this because we're able to expand without the wheels falling off.
I hear you.
There's our analogies.
Yeah. So I definitely hear you about that, Kristian. We could spend like hours to talk about it. So again, Kristian, thanks a lot for all the thoughts about the process, the communication with the clients, with the teams and all. I would like to hand the mic now to Songlin. What is your take about end-to-end level art?
I couldn't agree more with Kristian's ideas. Especially I like the idea of download who they are to our creative team, because in the end-to-end level is not just art. You need to understand their product. You need to understand their vision. You need to understand what they are doing and what they want. Usually, when doing the asset-based project, client will ready everything for us. But in end-to-end level project, we need to take the ownership. We need to study them first. We need to drive ourselves to make ourselves think as client, to think about what they really need and try to talk to them, try to communicate our ideas, and try to make ourselves align with them from a higher level to the art direction level, to the production level, to the technical levels, every aspect, to make sure we catch up with their pace, with their habit, with their existing working environment. In that case, we can call ourselves as we are doing the true end-to-end level ownership.
Thanks for your take about this topic, Songlin. So over this video podcast, we kind of touch a little bit of the challenges, let's say the friction point. And actually to execute across all three of these tiers, our teams have to completely be engine agnostic, whether we are working in proprietary tech, Unity, or leveraging our deep strengths in Unreal Engine 5. But it's never without obstacles, as I said. Looking at our collective project histories, where do co-development and environment art partnership tend to go wrong? What are the friction points that come up most often, and how have we learned to avoid them? So maybe Hang, do you want to start on these friction points?
Yeah, there are, of course, like pros and cons between the commercial and proprietary engines. So, for example, Unreal, that's the very latest technology that's available in multiple sources that we can reach out. While like the client in-house engine, that's always require a familiar team, like including the technical, the art team, and also the artist team. That's can be considered as a plus for any outsourcing vendor or any partner that usually have that experience already. But we think that back to the beginning, or any engine that always have updates on the go, and why when it comes to the updates, that we always need the pilot time and also the learning curves. That's quite tricky when we take that into account while we planning the scheduling and also the production.
Yeah, thanks for your take on this one, Heng. Do you share the same friction points, or do you have something to add on the table, Songlin?
The only thing I can think of is if we have the language barrier, we can always go on site with them, with more often communicate to solve any fractional point at any time at a faster pace.
I hear about that, Songlin. Kristian, what is your take about friction points challenges?
So, if I think of two in recent memory, the client's engine needed internet access. Now, at Sparx in particular, because we do a lot of projects with companies that have extremely sensitive IP, we're kind of locked down in terms of security. We have a very clever TA team and IT team who are able to, find those workarounds and ensure that we can sort of whitelist certain sites without actually, causing problems for security. But it does take time. And so we've had situations where we've had a project about to kick off and it's been delayed by weeks because there's this issue. So that's the sort of thing we need to make sure is being discussed early on with enough lead time to be able to sort those issues out so we can actually have the artists start off working in the engine on the day that they're supposed to. The other one is training. 20 years ago, there was no, generic one-size-fits-all engine. Every client came to us with their own engine, and we would spend weeks to months getting it all set up. Now it's faster and we're better at it. But if they do come to us with a new engine, the first thing we do is we have to set aside time for training. Sometimes that's in-house. Sometimes clients will come out to us and do on-site training. But my favorite is when my artists get to go to the client. So for Spider-Man 2, for example, they all went out to the States. I had an art team leads and a whole bunch of artists and an art director go out, spend a month living in LA. It's great.
Yeah, and actually it's how to turn actually a challenge, maybe like a friction, to an opportunity and to something actually pleasant, huh?
Yeah.
So thanks for your take about it. So now to close, let's say, this video with something lighter, I would like to ask each of you if you can mention a project which was released in the last 2 years outside of anything Virtuos that you work on, which is the new benchmark or something that you are looking up to when it's about environmental storytelling or even on the broad topic of environment art. What would it be? Han, do you want to start on this one?
That's really a hard question because like Virtuos is like globalized and works in many titles. So if I name something that already like been worked on by Virtuos, then forgive me. So yeah. Maybe I love to work on the Beast of Reincarnation by Game Freak. If you guys know Game Freak, that's the developer and co-owner for Pokemon IP along with Nintendo. So yeah, but now they release their own game, like and I think that's gonna be published by Fictions, one of the 2K studios.
Okay, thanks a lot for,
Yeah.
for your answer. Very cool title. What about you, Songlin? Any title which is for you the benchmark for anything environment?
I just want to jump out of the box to mention something big and it's coming, which is GTA. This is something will impact the world, and I'm extremely curious about how they manage their asset, the content, and how they build such a realistic and immersive world in such, short time or in a such complex way. A very highly interactive world. So let's just put it in here and we can study it once it released. It already in my wish list.
I can imagine. Well, frankly, it's a easy take, Songling, because the world is expecting for this game. And Kristian, what about you? Any benchmark titles of reference?
So Hang, like you, it's like what hasn't Virtuos worked on, right? So it's a bit of a stretch to try and figure out something that we haven't touched that I can talk about. And maybe for me, it's Expedition 33, Clair Obscura. I love like realism, photogrammetry. That's my jam, right? That's what my team mostly does. But I also really love ultra stylized things. I can't play video games very well because I just walk around getting killed because I'm staring at the artwork. So I buy them and then I use them for reference and I look at them for a bit and then I give them to my kids. But every time you look at anything, it just looks like a concept. Like the balance, the light, like everything about the game is just the composition, no matter how you look at the environment, always works. Like it looks like every frame has been premeditated, even though it's, you can't necessarily do that with that sort of game. So it's a stunning game.
Yeah, very great example. And as a French person, I'm super happy that you mentioned it. So thanks, Kristian, for mentioning this game. So what about you, Javier? Any titles that you would like to highlight?
Well, there is actually many that I could mention here. But one game that really captivated me last year and that I found really interesting was Hell is Us. This is a AA game with punching above their weight. But the game heavily focused on exploration and storytelling. And the environment is a central part of delivering both of them. It almost feels like the world you explore is the main character of the game. I highly recommend it. And if that's the type of game that you enjoy. I also want two special mentions here with Alan Wake 2, one of my favorite looking games ever, probably. And also, but a bit less known, Still Wakes the Deep. Both great games, great environment, where the environment not only shines visually, but also because it's a core part of the game experience.
Okay, wow, freaking good games again. Thank you, Javier, for your answer. Very incredible picks, guys. Environment art truly is the bridge between a visionary idea and a playable world. Whether we are providing the foundational assets for Forza, the modular system for complex games, or final atmospheric polish, our goal remains the same: to protect and amplify the core vision of the game. So I take also the opportunity to say a big thank you, guys, for all the insights that you share with us, with also the people viewing this episode. So don't hesitate to watch the other episodes. We are also a lot on the table to cover in the coming months. So thanks a lot for your presence and collaboration and all. And I see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.